A very good morning to you, and a very good morning to Peter Bleksley. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you, Governor. How are you?
I'm very well. You're looking very dapper.
Good. Thank you.
Always well dressed at this time of the morning. Best dressed guest, I think you should get the award for. It's been a busy old weekend. Notting Hill Carnival's been going on. I mean, I was watching the news last night, and it seemed to me that there was an awful lot of, shall we say, playing down of the crime that was going on, because it's now not the right thing to do, is it, to criticise the Notting Hill Carnival, because it's a thing of great British historical interest.
And there are, of course, cultural sensitivities around it.
Apparently so.
So don't anybody ever tell the truth about it, because you'll get cancelled. All right? Cultural sensitivities.
Yes.
Don't tell the truth.
Right.
But the stats we've got this morning are not the full stats.
Yeah.
The Met will release theirs at about midday.
Yes.
Because the arrest figures that we've been looking at this morning were only up until around 8 p.m. last night. Now, any experienced Notting Hill goer will tell you that the violence tends to kick off after dark.
A bit later.
There's a bridge at the north end of Ladbroke Grove.
Yeah, I know.
And that tends to be where a lot of, shall we say, disquiet and disruption and violence often happens. So we might get a clearer picture at midday. But even so, what I think the figures that we will see from the Met might not give us is an accurate breakdown of how much crime has been recorded.
Yes.
OK, it's fine to say 2 stabbings, and if nobody died, goodness me, we're supposed to celebrate that.
Yeah. Every news report I read said that they were not life-threatening injuries, as if that's OK then.
Yes.
I mean, it's not OK to have stabbings at an event that is paid for by the public purse every single year, is it?
No, it's most definitely not. And I'm going to get on to perhaps heaping some praise in regards to much of what the Met Police did, which will trigger the lefties. All right, while I'm at it, what am I talking about? OK, facial recognition cameras that were deployed.
Yes.
Last week, there they were, all the blooming lefty lunatics, human rights people banging on about how outrageous it was.
Dystopian.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, actually, the Met lifted about 50 people, nicked 50-odd people through that facial recognition
before
systems.
the event itself, right?
Exactly.
The thing that I found interesting, and I mentioned this yesterday when Rafe was here, they had a watch list of 16,500 people. I mean, that's an awful lot of people to be walking the streets of this country who are supposedly wanted for something.
Oh, but it comes as absolutely no surprise to me, because what happens these days, if somebody goes to court, for example, charged with rape, and some lunatic judge has granted them bail, and they don't turn up, so they become wanted, you might think there would be a squad launched, and there might be some really robust, determined effort to try and find them. Unfortunately, because of the workload that detectives are under these days, what will inevitably happen is that those persons' details will be entered onto the police national computer, and the officer in the case will live in hope that they get arrested for something else.
For something else, or they get spotted somewhere else. Yeah.
And then, of course, that case can then be that's sadly the truth.
But I mean, for those of us who are relatively law-abiding citizens, it's quite a frightening statistic, 16.5 people just around the Notting Hill Carnival.
Yeah, exactly. All those thousands of people, and once you replicate that across the country, there are thousands, tens of thousands of wanted people out on the streets. They deployed facial recognition down my manor in Bexley a few weeks ago. And you think, OK, well, fine. And they had successes down there, including somebody, funnily enough, wanted for rape and other serious crimes. There are wanted people amongst all our communities, virtually, the length and breadth of the country. But what the Met also did at the Notting Hill Carnival this time round, which was smart, they deployed drones with facial recognition camera capability. Very good. And you see, the Met and South Wales Police are doing this because there's no regulatory framework. There's no laws about the deployment of facial recognition. Parliament has just ignored it all. So credit where it's due. The Met have pushed forward with this technology, not only the development of it, but the deployment of it and the use of it. And it is taking wanted people off the street.
Right.
And for that, I give them huge credit.
Okay, I'll take that. 423 arrests, as we know of. As you say, we haven't got the most recent. 52 of the arrests made using live facial recognition technology. It says possession of an offensive weapon, 46 arrests. Assaults on police, 32%. Possession of cannabis, 70. Possession of Class A, 32. Drug supply, 44. Violence with injury, 4. Other violence, 36. Sexual offences, 18. Other offences, 136. The thing that the Mail have highlighted is there's a couple of women fighting in the street who apparently are watched by onlookers who are basically filming it because that's all part of their entertainment, apparently. Yeah. And then there's another woman who's being arrested, not wearing very many clothes. She apparently threw a glass bottle of cider at the police.
Yeah. Well, there you go. With that kind of rap sheet, charge sheet, criminal record, call it what you will, you imagine any other event.
Yes.
Imagine if that was Glastonbury's rap sheet.
Right.
Right?
I know.
You know, what would people be saying then? Well, it's totally unacceptable. Right. But once again, because of the cultural sensitivities around the Notting Hill Carnival, people should just keep quiet, celebrate it. No. It needs to get moved to Hyde Park.
Yeah,
I don't want to cancel it.
No.
I really, that's fine. I don't want to cancel it. Hyde Park, 350 acres.
Yeah.
So plenty of space. Right. Put unscalable fences around it. Turnstiles, knife arches, further searches, CCTV, ticketed events.
Yes.
Make people pay to go to it because the policing cost of it is astronomical.
Well, we paid out another £1 million this year because they had to find another £1 million. I think Lisa Nandy managed to get together with Sadiq Khan and come up with another £1 million of taxpayers' money.
The policing bill in 2023 was £12 million. And the police deployed a lot more officers this year than they've previously done, 7,000. I think it was 5,000 last year. I'll stand to be corrected, but I think it was. If it maybe 6, even so, at least an extra 1,000 officers.
Yes.
Very expensive resources to deploy.
Right.
It will have cost a fortune.
And as other people have said on this, leading up to this weekend, the rest of London gets sort of neglected. So if you're a crook in the west of London, when the north of London or the south of London or the east of London, you're pretty sure there's not many cops anywhere. In fact, I saw a note from somebody yesterday. He said we always used to have a rave on the Hackney Marshes because there was no cops to come and tell us to shut it down.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And anybody who was unfortunate to become a victim of crime this weekend in any other part of London, I suspect they got a very light touch service.
The other thing that people have pointed out is that there are not many other events where if there was a tent where you could go, if you've been sexually assaulted, that would ever be something that was a regular event either.
Yeah, I mean, it is astronomical.
Yeah.
And I don't want it cancelled. I don't mind repeating that, but I do want it to be safer.
Yes.
I don't want this blood being spilt. I don't want this astonishing number of people being arrested. I want it to be a safer event because I don't like victims of crime being created.
Yeah, and if you're a parent of a teenager and your teenager says, I fancy going to Notting Hill Carnival, what are you going to say? You're going to say no, aren't you?
No chance.
I've already had to say that.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, do not bother.
Yeah,
because you've got a very high likelihood of having a problem.
We discussed it
in something.
We discussed it with our boys this weekend, 23 and 24.
Yeah, and
of course their inquisitiveness is getting the better of them.
Yeah,
and of course they're grown adults, so we can't stop them.
No,
but my wife and I, who have both policed it in the past, put forward a very powerful argument for them not going.
I'm sure. Absolutely right. Let's have a look at how Sky News reports the Notting Hill Carnival because it's not quite what we've just done.
Have infiltrated the extreme carnival band, which is currently repping St Lucia. As you can see, it's all very chaotic. Carnival is now in full swing. I'm currently with this band who's got this amazing costumes. As I say, they're representing St Lucia. Today is Adults Day. Yesterday we saw the children's parade. Today is the day for adults to have fun and take part in the carnival parade.
A lot of people coming under the rope there. I'm not sure what the rope's for, but anyway. I mean, I searched in vain for a piece in the Sky News sort of app as to what the number of arrests were, and there was hardly a word about it.
Well, since my lads have returned home, I do not have exclusive control of the remote control. Okay, regrettably.
So, you mean you've only got one television? Are you serious?
No, there is one up in the bedroom, of course, but, I wasn't tempted to go up there yesterday. And so one of my boys had put on Sky News.
Yeah.
Sigh. And I saw a report by the same reporter that we've just seen earlier on in the day, and I had a bit of a rant at my son.
Yeah.
I said, "You've seen that? There was no word mentioned of the 140 arrests the previous day.
Yeah.
Not one word.
No.
It was utterly unbalanced reporting to the point I would say...
Well, untruthful as well, I would call it.
Yeah, exactly, to the point almost of being negligent, because people should know about the number of arrests and the crimes recorded so they can then make a judgment as to whether they're going to go or whether they would let their children go or not. But I want to see, when the Met release their stats around lunchtime today, they're full of stats. I very much doubt that they will have exactly how many pickpocketing offences, how many other theft from person, how many robberies, how many sexual assaults, and what were they? How many rapes were reported? How many other sexual assaults? I want a breakdown of the recorded crime. I don't just want arrests and a breakdown of what they were nicked for. I want the recorded crime stats.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because along with those recorded crime stats, we've got some new recorded crime stats. And this was in the Times today. On the number of violent crimes against women and girls rose by 5% on trains in the year to March the 31st. The number of sexual offences increased by 10% in the same period. But it doesn't actually say, for example, particularly in the terms of the violent crimes against women and girls. I mean, that could be other women and girls, presumably, couldn't it? I mean, it might not be, but, but they don't say, so you don't know.
No, but I fear, and I suspect I'm probably right, that the overwhelming majority of those offences will be committed by men upon women.
They don't mention men either in this piece, right? Also, the number of sexual offences on the rail network leapt by 10%, increasing from 2,437 to 2,670. Offences involving sexual harassment up by 6% to 1,950. This is British Transport Police Authority figures, but they don't say who's responsible for them.
Yeah, exactly. But I wonder why that
is. There might
be
a couple of reasons for that. One of them might be that there's a link to another story that we got this morning, which is that sex crimes by foreigners are up by 62% in 4 years.
Who'd have guessed it,
So put the two stories together and maybe you'd find that there's a common denominator, perhaps.
Indeed, some crossover, shall we say.
But there is a general reluctance, isn't there, by public bodies like the British Transport Police and possibly the Met, where they don't want to give you all the information, they just want to give you some of it, so that, in case you get inflamed in some way.
But of course now Yvette Cooper has said she has pledged to release nationality data and ethnicity data of people arrested.
Oh, yeah.
Which will be a very interesting development if we ever get to see it.
This is the same woman who pledged regular updates on the people who've been detained on arrival in the UK, having come here illegally on small boats. And thus far, we've had no updates at all.
Talk's cheap.
Coming up, actually, we'll talk about the immigration situation, because Nigel Farage today is going to unveil a new reform kind of manifesto, if you like, on mass migration deportations, which an awful lot of people have been wanting to see for quite some time. And he's going to accuse Keir Starmer of being more in favour of the courts than he is of the people of this country. And I think a lot of people listening to this and watching this would agree. It's coming up to 19 minutes past 6. Celia says apparently the Notting Hill Carnival is a spiritual experience, so urinating and throwing up in people's gardens and murder is spiritual, is it? Well, apparently so. And wash your mouth out, Celia, because it's a great thing and you must protect it, because it's one of the great British pastimes is going to the Notting Hill Carnival, so I'm told. Anyway, maybe 20 years ago, but not now. 19 minutes past 6. This is Morning Glory. Back after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory. It's 6:22. Peter Bleksley's here with me. We've got plenty to talk about this morning. Lots of front pages this morning, Peter, on the migration story. Obviously, the story that doesn't go away. Start off with the Times, I suppose, shall we? The UK prepares to send 100 small boat rowers back. You might remember it was around about the first week of August where they came out with this one in, one out nonsense, right?
Shake it all about.
Shake it all about, do the hokey-cokey, and you end up with still more people than you had before, basically. But they're claiming now that more than 100 asylum seekers have been detained for deportation to France. Now, they've never said how long they're going to hold them for. They've never said where they're holding them, where they're being detained. We've seen all sorts of ridiculous, sort of Home Office videos trying to make out that we're being tough on these people. But we know it's not working because I think during this same period, the TikTok migrant, you might remember from The Sun, arrives on a Saturday, and by Sunday afternoon, he's in a hotel at Heathrow. Yeah. So he wasn't detained.
No.
And most of them aren't being detained.
And whilst the front page screams about 100 to be returned, right, it's complete dross. 212 arrived on Sunday.
Right.
Okay, on boats. We haven't got
on one day only.
Yeah. We haven't got yesterday's figures. Right. 79 the day before on one boat. These boats are getting bigger and carrying more and more and more of them.
Yeah.
The wind didn't blow yesterday. The Times is revealing that they saw 6 boats take off yesterday.
Right.
So that'll be another few hundred.
Yeah.
And so it goes.
And so it goes.
So it's utter nonsense.
And also the 100 that they're going to send out back to France, supposedly, if they don't challenge legally, which they still can, will be replaced by another 100. Yeah. So it's not as if we get rid of people at all.
No. The government is just lamentable about this and so many other things. And of course, we had the announcement. I mean, the Times has got a lot of coverage about this issue today in various parts of it.
Yeah.
A lot of coverage about it. But of course, including spouting off about the new plan that the government has to try and deal with extraditing people or sending them back to deal with the asylum application.
Yeah.
And the government says it's setting up a new independent professional body of adjudicators.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, what kind of drivel is that?
I know.
All it is people who are going to just put through more and more and more and more.
It's called an amnesty, isn't it?
Going, granted.
Stamp.
You can see it happening.
Do you know what's even funnier, though? Because I was listening to Jeremy Kyle yesterday, and basically it turns out that it was Labour who used to have a whole bunch of these adjudicators on a panel for immigration, and they made them all judges. They gave them the status of judges, and now they're taking it away. So it's literally, the judicial hokey-cokey, where they started off back at the beginning of the century as adjudicators.
Yeah.
Then they were judges for a bit. They haven't changed the people, and now they're going back to being adjudicators. What's the difference?
And we all know some of these decisions that these judges have handed down, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, in you come, because your kid doesn't like
and most of them,
chicken
right, are working for refugee charities in their spare time. They're not like proper High Court judges who sit in some wisdom on a bench because they've been there for a very long time and you can actually trust their judgment to a large extent. These are somewhat activist types, who have got an axe to grind. Let's have a look at what old Starmer told us about the groundbreaking migrant deal, one in, one out.
So I'm pleased to announce our agreement today on a groundbreaking returns pilot. For the very first time, migrants arriving via small boat will be detained and returned to France in short order. In exchange for every return, a different individual will be allowed to come here via a safe route, controlled and legal, subject to strict security checks, and only open to those who have not tried to enter the UK illegally.
Now, I don't know about you, but the phrase "in short order," right, is quite a specific phrase, and the definition of it is quickly, without delay.
Yeah, well,
it's not quickly, is it? And it's not without delay, so it's not in short order.
No.
So it's another lie.
And of course, Starmer called this groundbreaking, didn't he?
Yeah, it's not groundbreaking either.
No, I call it mind-numbing because it's such utter drivel.
It really is.
You know it's not going to happen.
No.
You know this man, ideologically, is not driven to grip this.
No.
Because he's a former human rights lawyer.
Yeah.
And so he is enslaved to the European Court of Human Rights.
Of course he is.
He bows down in front of the European Convention on Human Rights. It is seared into his DNA, never to be removed.
Yeah.
So he will not do what needs to be done. And not only will it be Nigel Farage this morning speaking about how we need to extricate ourselves from these bodies and this convention, you've got Melanie Phillips writing a comment piece in the Times today as well, with the banner headline, "Scrap Human Rights Law or Boats Keep Coming."
Well,
there you have it.
That's exactly right. Well, David Blunkett, former Home Secretary, has been also calling for the same thing, the suspension of the ECHR, the getting rid of the UN Migration Advisory Board, or whatever it is. And the Daily Mail's got a headline, warning to Starmer from his own MPs, migration could cost you the next election.
Might.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think it will. I think it will. And in the Telegraph, where Nigel Farage has written today, he's accused Keir Starmer of siding with international courts against the British public. I read a really interesting piece actually yesterday in the Times about how the legal fraternity have taken over the political running of this country, and that's why we've got so many problems, because they don't understand what the political imperative is that people in this country want. They don't understand why people are demonstrating outside hotels up and down the country. They don't get it, and they think that, well, they were doing everything within the law, so we must be okay. Well, no, actually, that's not the way you run a country. You know, we don't want to be run by lawyers. We want to be run by politicians. Because
all they do is get in the way. And on that very, very note about how lawyers are running this country, there's Max Hastings' notebook, again, in the Times today, sums it all up brilliantly in a line that as a result of the lawyers' grip in the nation, we have become better at impeding things from getting done than at making them happen.
Very good point.
And that is so apposite to so many aspects of British life, particularly this migrant crisis.
Exactly right. Nigel Farage, writing in the Telegraph today, says a reform government would launch Operation Restoring Justice, which would sweep away the ECHR and other conventions through an illegal migration mass deportations bill. This would create a legal duty for the Home Secretary to remove illegal migrants. Failure to do so would mean breaking the law. And he says that means that if you come to the UK illegally, you are ineligible for asylum. No ifs, no buts. That's it. This is what Australia did, Tony Abbott, all those years ago. And it worked.
Yeah. But of course, is Nigel Farage and Reform, should they get elected, are they going to really grip the civil service?
Yeah.
Because therein lies so many of the problems within this country, because the civil service is heavily politicised.
Especially the Home Office.
Yeah, heavily politicised. And you'll remember the name Dominic Cummings, who wanted to try and get a grip on the power that the civil service wields. So it is going to require, I would suggest, a huge majority and an enormous amount of courage, will, backbone, spine to stand up and strip out these elements of the civil service that hinder and do not help this nation. It's going to take some balls to do it, but it should and could be done,
and must
I'm
be
sure.
Done. Well, must be done as well for the future of this country, because people in this country are sick to death of what's been happening to it, and it's been happening over the best part of the last 15 years, probably. You know, that each of our freedoms is being eroded, you know, whether it's press freedom, whether it's freedom of speech, whether it's freedom to associate, whether it's the right to walk down the street without being harassed or whistled at as a woman, whether it's the right to get an NHS appointment so that somebody isn't put ahead of you because they've come in illegally as asylum seekers, you know. And it's all gone completely bonkers mad. I mean, there's a piece of the Mail today, and their investigations unit is looking at an Oxford University academic and a refugee campaigner who they say is allegedly running an illicit operation to help bring foreign workers into the UK, encouraging them to tell lies to the Home Office, making sure that they get visas to work here. And she basically benefited as well from a taxpayer-funded research grant for an Oxford University-backed study for 234,000 quid. There are so many people in this country ripping the arse out of it, if you'll pardon my expression, and the good tax-paid people of this country are the ones who are getting stopped every 5 minutes.
3 words. Lock them up.
Yes.
If that's what people are doing, corruptly helping people come into this country for their own political means, then lock them up. There is a law that will cover that quite comfortably. Lock them up. But of course we don't have enough prison spaces, do we? So
don't worry though, because they're letting some people out soon to make some more space, and also they're going to stop sending people to prison if they get short sentences, because what's the point? Bless them. So that'll be all right then.
And when I talk about civil service, you look at things like the parole board, the Sentencing Council.
Useless.
You know, these bodies are full of people who are so liberally minded, woke, fluffy, and will do anything in their power to stop people going to jail, to stop people being suitably punished for crimes they've committed. And consequently, they are making the streets less safe
because they're out of
all
touch.
of us.
Because they're out of touch with reality, aren't they?
Yeah.
They don't understand what it's like to live in Britain because they don't really live in Britain. They live in their own little world, you know, where they only mix with people right-minded who talk about the great diversity is our strength and isn't it marvellous? You know, Notting Hill Carnival's great fun, isn't it? You know, but they don't actually go there, witness, see what it's like and maybe put themselves in some danger. But people who live there literally have to board up their houses. I've got a friend who's been away all weekend because he says every year they board up their house.
Yeah, I was there on Friday. I was in Ladbroke Grove on Friday. Astonishing. The thousands, and I mean thousands, of businesses and homes that are boarded up or fenced or both, barricaded.
And if you're a business, presumably in Notting Hill, you make no money this weekend because you're not open.
Yeah.
You can't make any money, right?
Yeah.
You daren't open a shop.
The cost of that, absolutely astronomical. And all that chipboard, use it to build the unscalable fences around Hyde Park.
Exactly right.
Make it safer. Make people pay for a ticket. Make the event pay for itself. Why should millions upon millions of pounds of public money go to the policing operation? Reminder, 2023, 12 million. How much has this weekend's cost, I wonder? A lot more than that. Why should we pay for that?
I know.
That's taken away from cops who might be investigating the burglary, the theft from the van, the car theft, the assault, and so on and so forth.
Exactly. Graham says this from Bushy. Of the 450 arrested at Notting Hill, how many will be charged? Good question. And one from Sarah in South Lincolnshire, who says, morning, Mike, regarding Carnival, my husband, a British-born from Jamaican parents, went to Carnival back in the 80s as a 20-plus-year-old man. He said it was dangerous and problematic back then, and he's never returned. This is a guy who was serving in the military at the time. So, you know, there's a long history of this. Let's get a voice note from Mark.
Morning, Mike. It's Mark in Lancashire. So 100 asylum seekers are going back to France. We're getting 17 for every one sent back, aren't we? So that's 1,700 more coming here. So where are they going to live? They've said they're closing hotels. There's all this bother about hotels, so they're not going in there. So they'll be going in social housing. So people who are on queues at local councils for social housing, young single mothers with children, etc., that we need to house, British people, they're going to get pushed to the back of the queue for these 1,700 coming over from France, are they? So that's the deal. They think that's a good thing, really. Let's see.
That's what Keir Starmer calls groundbreaking.
Yeah, groundbreaking.
He's going groundbreaking. He's going to break the ground to build some more houses for all the immigrants.
Yeah. I wonder if Angela Rayner's new pad that she's bought down on the coast at Hove, I wonder if she's bought that with the intention of housing a few migrants in it.
This was a question that was put to us just yesterday. We'll be talking some more about Angela Rayner because she's still in the papers today because there's still a lot of mystery about the council tax that she pays and who pays for it and exactly what is going on. One rule for her and one rule for everybody else, it would seem. It's 6:36. Peter Bleksley and I back after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory. Coming up to 6:38. I'm Mike Graham with you all the way through, of course, until 10 o'clock. We've got a couple of big stories to do in this section. Peers are going to be sacked if they fail to turn up for work in the House of Lords. They'll be sacking quite a few of them then. But of course, what many of them do is arrive at the House of Lords, sign in, and then leave again. And
£360 a day, isn't it?
And technically, they can be paid for that because nobody actually monitors what they do once they've signed in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to work.
Pop along to Westminster, get off at the Jubilee line, walk in there, scrawl your name, have a cup of tea, go home, 360 quid, I thank you.
Yeah. The change is part of a drive by ministers to cut the size of the House of Lords by a fifth. A retirement age of 80 will also be adopted, with peers obliged to quit at the end of the parliamentary session. I've got a better idea. Why don't you just stop putting people in there, right? And then you'll have the natural wastage of people retiring and or dying. But the problem is, with every one of these new initiatives that they have, they all end up putting more and more people in.
But this really touches on a raw nerve of a big bugbear of mine, and that is, and I think this comes from politicians of whatever persuasion, and particularly the public sector, about how they deal with our money.
Yes.
Or should I rephrase that, how they waste
Yes.
our money.
They have a myriad of ways of how they waste our money. There's always a new idea for that.
And I was talking to a Labour former advisor, please forgive me, I do it so you don't have to, right? About Rayner and that £7,000 she spent on 2 beds apparently.
Yeah.
And I was railing about it. I was extremely angry about it because you can buy 2 beds for less than £7,000 comfortably.
Easy.
Very good beds that will last many, many, many years. And this Labour idiot said, well, it's not her money. And I went, there you go. That's the very essence of people who spend public money because they simply can.
Yes.
As opposed to dealing with every pound note as though it was their own money.
Exactly right.
And when you're in charge of public money, that's what you should be doing, whether you're in the police, the NHS, Parliament, local council.
Yeah, but none of them do, you see, because none of them have had that discipline. They haven't worked in a business. They've only ever worked in the public sector. This entire Labour government have only ever worked in the public sector. Not one of them has done anything outside of it. They've either been councillors or trade union reps or, you know, political advisors or whatever it is, but they've never worked in an actual business where you have to account for every single penny that you spend.
But Rayner's obviously looked after her own dough because she's toddled off and bought 700
Well, there's a lot of questions around
down
that.
in Hove, apparently.
There's a lot of questions around that as to how, we were talking about this yesterday, how on her salary, which is quite substantial, by the way, as a senior cabinet minister, but it's not outrageous. It's not like she's making $500,000 a year, and yet she's able to get, it would appear, a mortgage to the tune of about 700,000 quid, which a lot of people who are currently trying to get mortgages would find pretty puzzling.
But if everything is a freebie, for example, and I don't know, you know, but does she send out for a meal deal, you know, a sandwich, bag of crisps and a drink, for example, and pay for it herself, or does it get put down to expenses?
No, I bet not. No, because I mean, one of the things we know about the way that people claim expenses is they claim for every single little thing. They claim for a pen. They claim for, you know, some elastic bands. They'll pay for some paper. Everything that they do as MPs before they become cabinet members is paid for by expenses.
Now, you see, that's fine to claim for those aforementioned things if you're self-employed and you're a writer, so you need to buy pens, for example, you know.
But you claim it against your tax, right?
Exactly.
You don't claim it against the government's, you know, money from the taxpayer.
Exactly. So if, for example, some of these senior politicians in the cabinet, and it may have been going on for years, if they claim for everything, they're not actually spending any of their own dough, are they?
No.
So those big salaries that they get are probably going into the bank and nestling in there and staying
that could be
there,
true.
and they're not spending it.
That could
perhaps.
be true. That's a good point. But the big question on the front page of the Telegraph today is about the council tax bill, because, of course, they've now introduced, thanks to Angela Rayner, a punishing schedule. If you have a second home, that you will pay double the amount on your council tax for that second home. She's claiming that her main residence is actually in Ashton-under-Lyne, which is up near in Greater Manchester there, even though it's 200 miles away from her office in London. Clearly she can't possibly spend a lot of time there because she has to be in London. She gave the reason for buying the place in Hove because she needed a house nearer London. But she's either not going to spend any time there, she's got a house in London which is paid for by us. We pay the council tax on it because it's not classed as her first home. If she classed her London Grace and Favour house as her main address, she would have to pay the council tax on that. But she doesn't because she claims it's her second home, even though she works from London and it's a stone's throw from Downing Street.
Members of the media with a suitable budget do a time and motion study on her. Where does she sleep and when?
Right.
Tot up the nights.
Exactly.
How many in Ashton, how many in Hove, how many in her Grace and Favour. Do the numbers, do the maths, time and motion study on her now.
I would think to suggest, I would say timorously, that probably the place in London is where she spends most of her time.
It would make absolute sense.
Unless, of course, she's travelling, because she does like to get away to Ethiopia quite a lot and stuff like that, doesn't she? There is all that going on. But it is quite ridiculous. Let's get Kemi Badenoch on what was going on with this one-in, one-out scenario.
Well, one in, one out does not reduce the numbers, and it does not reduce the pull factor. Lots of people still want to come to the UK. What we need is something that actually stops the boats. So if this scheme stopped the boats, of course we would welcome it, but I have no faith whatsoever that it's actually going to. I think it's a lot of big talk. Labour said they were going to smash the gangs. They've done absolutely nothing. They've got no plans. They're now begging France to do a swap. That's not going to solve this problem.
Well, she makes a very good point, the same point that we were making earlier. Basically, you know, it's not going to work.
And the Times interviewed people, these would-be illegal migrants into our country in France over the last day or two, and some of them had applied under this new one-in, one-out system.
Yes.
Right? 2 of them applied. It pinged back straight away they weren't eligible for it. So what were they doing? Jumping on a boat and coming here.
Funnily enough.
So, funnily enough, it wasn't a deterrent,
No.
Starmer.
No.
Not a deterrent.
Of course it wasn't. Absolutely right. Incredible. Let's have a look at Rachel Reeves, shall we? Here's what she said just before the election on no more tax rises.
There are no additional tax rises needed beyond the ones that I've set out. I want to lead the most pro-growth, the most pro-business Treasury that our country has ever seen, with a laser focus on delivering for working people.
In the Sun today, it says a £2.5 billion double tax whack is coming for business.
Yeah.
So that sort of opportunity that she wanted to have to lead the biggest government growth department ever has kind of fallen by the wayside, hasn't it?
Whatever happened to the laser focus, eh?
What the hell is a laser focus?
Who writes these speeches?
I mean, it's rubbish, isn't it?
Who writes these
I'm going to have a
speeches?
laser focus on the Daily Telegraph front page.
Yes, laser.
Laser-like.
Laser, Mike.
Yes. I mean, do they think we're stupid? I mean, they must do. They must think that we're just going to swallow this guff they come out with every bloody morning.
But they're paying people decent money to write that nonsense. That utter
Do you know how many
drivel.
PRs they've got?
Oh, true. Go on.
7,000. I'm not joking. There are now 7,000 public relations workers in the government. 7,000.
7,000?
Yep.
They don't need 7, do they?
No.
It means 7,000.
7,000.
Here we go. We're back to that thing that irritates me.
Yeah.
Public money.
Yeah.
They're all being paid out of public purse.
Yes.
Our money.
Yep.
Our taxes.
Yep.
Our hard-earned taxes.
Yes.
Going on 7,000 of them.
And here's a clue, right? If you want to save some money, instead of putting taxes up, or if you want to generate some of it, get rid of some of these people. You don't need them all in government, you know?
Bin them off.
Bin them off, get rid of, you know, half the civil service, nothing would change. Not one thing would become less efficient, not one thing would be a problem, right? We could lose literally hundreds of thousands of these people. And the Home Office employ something like 50,000 people.
I wonder how many of them 7,000 work from home. I wonder what their arrangements
Probably
are.
about half of them, but they don't come in on a Friday.
No, of course not.
Pretty quiet on a Friday in London. Let's get a voice note from Matt.
Mike, Matt in Hove here. Just a quick note on migrant hotels and HMOs. So the ONS figures state there are 476,000 registered HMOs in the UK, and there are 32,000 migrants in hotels. And the plan is to move them out of the hotels into more HMOs. No wonder there are no flats available. Also, you're just moving the problem into the local communities, which arguably is even worse. It's like having a dog that keeps taking a dump in the living room, and all you do is move its business into your bedroom, and then it goes in there instead. And then somebody says, "Oh, you've taught your dog not to poo in the living room," and you show off like you're some sort of dog whisperer. It's absolutely insane.
Matt has a very, very interesting way of working these things out. He's a regular voice noter. He's right, though. You're not going to solve the problem, are you, by moving them from a hotel into a flat or a house in the middle of some town or other where nobody wants them?
Exactly. The house next door but one to me has recently been sold.
Oh, yeah.
And I've no idea who it's been sold to.
Interesting.
I'm going to be keeping a very, very interesting
And this is how the
eye.
rest of the country will be operating right now, because if they think there's bad demonstrations going on now outside of hotels, how do you think it's going to look when they're outside people's houses?
Well, if I see builders coming to this house
Yeah.
to start putting partitions up.
Yeah.
You know how they do it? They divvy
Yeah.
up a lounge and
Yeah,
turn
yeah.
it into 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Where you can put 2 people in each and all that
and
kind
then keep
of
an
stuff.
eye out for new appliances being delivered as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that happens.
And a new fire door being fitted out
Yeah.
the back and all that kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Then I shall be keeping a very close eye.
Yes, I'm afraid a lot of people will be doing the same. It's coming up to 10 minutes to 7 already. This is one from Jane. My favourite duo this morning, mass deportations, yes please, but what's the good of sending them back to France? They'll only come back again. See you in March, Peter, says Jane. Obviously got tickets for your
Thank you, Jane.
one-man show. And Mick in Wallington says, to cull the power of the civil service, the government must sack the permanent secretaries and the union leaders than anybody who is a member of a political cult. Well, you might say that. Let's have a look at what Starmer had to say during the election campaign about people, what should happen to people if they leave the country in a terrible state.
I don't know a period in history, and you will all think about this, where almost everything is now in a worse state than when they started in government. And this is not about Labour or Tory. If you leave your country in a worse state than when you came into government, you should be booted out.
OK.
There is hope.
Absolutely, yeah. Mark hoisted by his own petard, I think, there, because things are definitely in a worse state now than they were when he got in. So you should be booted out, Sir Keir Stalin. Thank you very much indeed. Let's talk. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:53, very nearly, 7 minutes to 7. We've got Peter Bleksley here, the man of the moment, and there's a story actually about Metropolitan Police of detectives, which I wanted to ask you about. It's in The Sun today. It's exclusive by Mike Sullivan, one of the great crime reporters of our time. 5 Met cops arrested over a cover-up. It's a bit strange, isn't it?
Yes, now, your wonderful audience will understand, and I'm sure they will forgive me, if my next paragraph or two is laced with a bit of alleged and apparently.
Of course.
Because this is an ongoing investigation.
Yes.
We don't want to get ourselves in any bother here, nor do we want to jeopardise any ongoing legal or proceedings or investigation. So, once upon a time, there was a CID Christmas party, OK, in recent times.
Yes.
Which surprises me, because I thought most of those had been kiboshed.
Done away with, yeah.
I went to a few when I was younger.
I'm sure.
My word.
Yes.
The fun we had.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a CID Christmas party, and it's last year apparently. A female police officer makes an allegation of sexual assault against a very senior police officer.
Right.
Okay.
More senior than her, presumably.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that allegation should be investigated, of course, should be investigated professionally, thoroughly and promptly. The allegation is that a number of detectives have looked to derail that investigation, one way or another.
Make it go away.
Yes, with the allegation being that they have attempted to pervert the course of justice. All allegations, nobody charged, but 5 arrested, their homes were searched, their workplaces were searched, and the investigation is ongoing. Should this investigation, and I say should, people forgive me for using this language,
That's all right.
should it result in charges and convictions, it is said to be a very, very big scandal for the Met. But we will have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see.
Nothing is set in concrete at all, far from it.
It's one to keep an eye on. Something else I wanted to mention is, because we talk about inflation a lot on this show, and particularly food inflation, because I think whenever they give you the official figure for food inflation, it's always way off, right? But food prices rose again this month of August, from 4% in July up to 4.2% for August, according to the British Retail Consortium. It's the steepest jump since February 2024. But of course, whenever we talk about food inflation, everyone knows when they walk into a supermarket, the stuff they were buying last week has gone up by at least 10%, if not more.
But this is 4.2% of prices that have gone so much higher in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, right.
It's a huge percentage if you compare it to a price of 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it. When I go with my wife to Tesco's to do the family shop, now especially now we've got the boys back home,
right. Who never stop eating.
The amount of money.
I know.
It's astronomical. Everything is so incredibly expensive. I gasped when the person
Well, it's like
behind
if you
the
go
till.
and just pick up a few bits and pieces, not even the main shop, it's 30 or 40 quid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely astonishing, the price of everything. And that is why so many people are struggling.
Yeah.
So many people are having financial difficulties. And I think, you know, this spills over into the national psyche. We were talking about it at the weekend, about how so many people appear to be really miserable, really fed up, lack of courtesy when you're driving. Everybody seems to be a bit angry, lack of courtesy on public transport. I think the psyche of the nation in so many ways is one of being fed up.
Yeah, they are. Because apart from anything else, and it's not just the asylum seekers and the illegal migrants, but that plays into it, because they see all these people getting stuff for free, you know, not least accommodation, food, you know, being given half price, you know, at the gym, or half price down at, we saw 40% discount on beach huts down in Portsmouth, you know, if you happen to be a migrant. Well, sorry, that's not the way that Britain should work. It's not fair. People want fairness in this country, and this is what they're not having, and this is what they don't like.
Because you know what? A sense of fair play is the very essence of being British.
Yes.
It's why we queue.
It is.
And we're famed for queuing.
It absolutely
after
is.
After you, sir. After you, madam. It's why we open doors for people. Because it's born out of a sense of fairness.
You know, I get a bus home every morning. If there's a woman who turns up, you know, technically there's no queue for a bus stop now, because it's kind of gone away. However, you know, if I see somebody, an older woman or even anybody with kids or anything like that, I always let them on the bus first, even if I was supposedly there. It doesn't matter. It's just the way I was brought up, you know.
It's why
and they always look surprised.
Yeah, indeed, sadly. It's why, historically, miscarriages of justice get so much coverage in this country, because it goes against our sense of fairness, of fair play, of what is right, of what is just.
Yes.
That is, for me, the very essence of Britishness. And with each and every boat and each and every cotchel full of people who are coming here, getting everything for free, bringing a culture that is not ours in here, that Britishness is getting diluted.
It is.
And it's been happening for years, and we can see it out on the streets, and we know how it manifests itself, and something has got to be done. And if Nigel Farage does not just have a plan, but can put that plan into action, then that will be very, very attractive to millions of people.
Yeah, absolutely right. Just before we finish, let's get a quick voice note from Laura, who wants to defend Angela Rayner, believe it or not.
Hi Mike, Laura here from Kent. Good morning, beautiful day as always, sun is shining. I'm not a great fan of Angela Rayner, but I actually agree that her London residence is her second home, because it's the grace and favour residence. If she loses that job, she loses that residence. So how can it be her main residence? It can't. So actually, in this instance, I agree with her. Okay, Mike, have a lovely day. Bye.
No worries, Laura. Thank you very much indeed. Peter, thanks very much indeed.